Establishing neural link. Neural handshake at 100%.
Cat 4 spotted dead ahead. Alright, I can handle Cat 4 kaijus in my sleep. Oh, it's not a kaiju. What do you mean? Enemy Jaeger then? Worse. CGI. Nah, screw that. I didn't sign up for this.
Neural
You can find a
handshake
different
at
pilot.
69%.
Where are you going?
Nice.
Come back. It's not actually that bad. It's not like it's X-Arm after all.
Neural handshake at 0%.
Come back. Come on. Alright. So Pacific Rim got an anime adaptation. I previously talked about it in another video about how mechas kinda aren't super popular in the West, except in the handful of the ones that kinda did squeak through and got some mainstream popularity. Pacific Rim, I think, is one of them for sure. There's 2 live action movies and then this series that just came out. And they kind of make the show not necessarily need you to watch the movies, but I highly recommend before you watch this show, you don't have to, but I highly recommend you watch the first 2 movies. The first movie is production value just amazing. It's really good. And then the second one got review bombed, but I don't think it deserves that after watching it. It's a little different, which I understand, like the jarring, like kind of not tone, but just kind of how it approaches everything, but it's still really good. After watching that, especially I watched it recently before watching this show, and it doesn't deserve like a 4.49 or a 5 out of 10. It is much better than that, especially because I feel like this is one of those series, it's not just giant monsters versus mechs just punching each other. There's a lot of special like world building to it that you appreciate down the line because they set all this stuff up and it feels more fleshed out in the long run. Especially now by getting to this show, you'll understand a lot of stuff that they don't really explain super well, but you'll know, oh, that's what that reference means from this movie, so now it just makes sense instead of you kind of having this mystery that's unnecessary. And I will say, on the topic of Pacific Rim Uprising, the second movie, John Boyega carries that movie. Holy hell. He was one of the main characters from the newest Star Wars trilogy, and I mean, he's good in that, but in this, oh my, dude, every time he was on screen, he stole the show. I just had to make a side note about that. It's such a great performance. So basically, this 7-episode first season essentially follows a brother and sister that are kind of left on their own after the events of apocalyptic outcome of just kind of, did we lose to the kaijus and we have to like deal with this kind of life now? And they stumble onto a Jaeger, but even when they have the machine, they're not pilots, so it's not just like, they're not OP main characters. They actually have a lot of relatability where even in like any form of fight, they don't just like ass pull and like just win. They're like, yeah, we did it, this giant monster, our first fight. They have a lot of trouble, and really they have a lot of failure they go through before they actually overcome anything. And I really appreciate that because the relatability just skyrockets when it's like that. These characters don't just immediately know how to do everything, and they're learning and getting over their like past grievances. And a major thing I like about Pacific Rim is with the mechs, it takes 2 people at least to pilot it, so you kind of have to mentally link up with the other pilot and experience all their pain and like get them to pull through their past memories, and you kind of have to understand why they think in the way they do. So it builds this bond and this teamwork that's kind of unparalleled. It's the best way to do it, honestly. I think it's done super well because then it gives a lot of character development while also like keeping the plot moving. So I really appreciate that. A thing I could repeat 1,000 times is that continues from the movies in this show is the weight of just like punches and attacks don't just feel empty. That feels like important. Every motion feels like it matters, and I honestly love that bit a ton. So for the voice acting, I kind of expected it to just be kind of and at first it kind of felt like it was gonna be like that. I don't know why, but then as it kept going, I was just like, oh, this is actually good. Like, there's a lot of emotion that like these like the actors put out, and you feel that because there's a lot of just like, there's a lot of gruesome stuff in this. Honestly, when it deals with death, it doesn't play around. Unless you're a main character, you're probably gonna die somehow. It was like Attack on Titan, just like everybody just kind of chilling, and then like something happens and they're all gone. It was just brutal. And even when some characters are safe, they're just killed off like. And normally the shock value of just like killing somebody for the hell of it, it's kind of weak, and you're just like, that's not very well done. But it's done just sparingly enough that when it happens, you're like, oh my god, I wasn't expecting it. That's insane. So the emotion behind the characters experiencing all these things, I believed it. It was very well done. The music, really good. I am disappointed they didn't really use the main theme from the movies. It kind of is in the outro, but it doesn't have like the kick in, so it's a little disappointing. But overall, the music is very enjoyable, enough that I noticed it. And I was like, okay, it has like enough range where it goes rock to like symphonic or just like sad. It has range and it's noticeable, so I appreciate it. Alright, I saved the best for last. The one gripe, I think the one thing that knocks it down a bunch of pegs, unfortunately, everything else was solid about this series. It makes you ask questions, you care about the world, it fleshes stuff out, the characters are interesting. But the CGI, they use CGI for all of the monsters and all of the humans in this. When I saw the trailer, I was like, damn it. I was bummed because I do not like CGI. I can tolerate it, not to the point where it makes me like fuming, like, oh my god. It's not like the Titans from Attack on Titan, like, they look fine. You're a child, grow up. But everything is CGI in this, so it's just like, oh. And for the first episode or two, it has like, you know how it has like the kind of clunk when they're just kind of standing around and whatnot. I hate that. So I was kind of gritting my teeth for at least the first episode, and I don't know what happened, if they got better or if I just got desensitized while watching it, but I actually stopped noticing it. Like, it actually kind of started looking good by like the third episode. At least it might have been before that. I genuinely was like, oh shit, like, okay. And then I just got into the plot. That was another thing. I think the story was good enough and everything built around it that it was like, oh, I don't give a shit. Like, it's CGI, whatever. And it's also short, like 7 episodes. You don't even really, even if you don't like it, like, it's not long enough for it to be like grating. But I think it was CGI that was done well enough. I don't think it's ever like, I don't think anything could really hit like a masterpiece level or like super good with using CGI. It always feels lazy and kind of like just kind of thrown in there. But I will give it that much, that it's not terrible. This is some of the best CGI that I've seen so far as of this point. So I'm kind of open to giving it a little bit of a pass, but it still loses a few points. I would probably say this is a 6 or a 7. It just loses at least 2 or 3 points because CG, I just cannot bear it. But otherwise, the foundation that this is building off of is promising. So I am curious to see where it goes. I hope it gets a second season. I genuinely do. Now, the reason I said I'm worried in the title of this video is because of the CGI, and the studio making it, I believe, has announced that they're also doing an adaptation of Tomb Raider, which, little known fact, I haven't said on this channel until right now, but Tomb Raider is one of my all-time favorite series, and Lara Croft, the main character for Tomb Raider, is essentially like my OG waifu. Like, cringe as that may be, but like best girl that I guess now, once it's in a show, I could technically say is the waifu best girl, but you know what I mean. It's just kind of one of those things like in a medium where I was like, yep, I won't even bat an eye. That is 100% best girl. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm pretty sure it's the same studio unless something changes, or if it's like different something. I don't know what all goes behind like the production, so maybe it doesn't do it, but I'm pretty much expecting it to be CG for that as well, which sucks because it, like I said, it drops at a few pegs regardless of if it's really good, which Pacific Rim the Black is really good. I don't think it's great, I just think it's really good. I think it's worth watching and kind of experiencing yourself, especially if you like mechs versus monsters and just kind of heartfelt emotion and like a human drama almost on top of it. It offers a lot, and I feel like people see the base value of just like big monster, big mech and kind of dismiss it. But if you're willing to get into it, there's not that much to even consume. 2 movies and 7 episodes of a short series that's anime. It's not even 40 minutes. It's 25-minute episodes essentially. So give it a shot. I mean, that's all I'm asking. If not, to each their own, but I think it is worth your time. That's all I really have to say for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it, share it around with anybody you think would be interested. Comment below if you have actually seen this. It just came out recently, so I would be surprised, and I'm sure a literal shitload of people are sleeping on it. But, I mean, given what it's building off of, I had to give it a shot. And I'm pleasantly surprised that I'm glad I did. Subscribe, because I greatly appreciate it. You can be my co-pilot for this Jaeger, this giant mech that is this channel. Well, it's not that big. It's like a baby one, but like it's gonna be a big one. You'll see. You'll see. And you were here to witness it. You're the one help building it. So, other than that, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. I did the fucking hand peace. I did it before I left. Walking away.